The rain came down in cold, steady sheets, washing the glow from the city's neon signs and turning the streets into silver mirrors. It was 2 a.m., and Rookie Officer Marcus Hale sat in his patrol car, staring at his trembling hands. His first month on duty, and he'd already messed up. The radio crackled with his name. Unit 47, report to Chief Donovan's office, immediately. Marcus swallowed hard. He knew what this meant. Just 2 hours earlier, he had defied a direct order. He'd been told to stand down during a late-night pursuit, a high-speed chase involving a suspected carjacker. But something in his gut told him not to stop. He followed anyway, weaving through slick roads, adrenaline surging. When he finally cornered the suspect, the situation had turned chaotic, and Marcus had fired his weapon, grazing the suspect's shoulder. The man survived, but protocol was broken. Now, soaked and shaking, Marcus made his way up the marble steps of the precinct headquarters, every step echoing his dread. Chief Frank Donovan was waiting. A tall, broad-shouldered man with graying hair and the kind of presence that could silence a room without saying a word. He'd been on the force for 30 years. A legend, a hard man to please. When Marcus entered, Donovan didn't look up from the report in his hands. The office smelled of coffee and rain. The silence was thick. "Sit," Donovan said finally. Marcus obeyed. "You disobeyed a direct order," the chief said flatly. "You discharged your weapon without clearance. You risked lives, yours, your partner's, and civilians. You have anything to say for yourself?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "Sir, I thought—" "You thought," Donovan snapped, finally looking up. "That's the problem, Rookie. You don't think— You follow orders." Marcus clenched his fists. "With respect, sir, the suspect was fleeing toward the riverfront. There were civilians nearby. I don't care what you couldn't," Donovan cut in. "I care that you broke protocol. You're suspended. Effective immediately." The words hit harder than any punch. Marcus sat frozen. "Suspended?" Donovan leaned back, eyes cold. "Turn in your badge and firearm. Maybe in a few weeks, you'll remember what the chain of command means." Marcus opened his mouth to argue, but stopped. He could see it in Donovan's face. The decision was final. Slowly, he removed his badge and gun, placing them on the chief's desk. "Yes, sir," he said quietly. When he left the office, the rain had turned into a downpour. He walked alone under the streetlights, the city blurred around him. He didn't know it yet, but the man he'd shot that night wasn't who everyone thought he was. And within 24 hours, Chief Donovan's world would shatter, because the rookie he'd just suspended had saved his daughter's life. By the next afternoon, the storm had passed, but the tension in Chief Donovan's office hadn't. The department was running like clockwork, calls, reports, radio chatter. But Donovan's mood was darker than the clouds that still hung over the city. He sat at his desk, reviewing paperwork on Marcus Hale's suspension. Rookie, 26, ex-military, solid record. Too bold for his own good, Donovan thought. He'd seen dozens like him. Young cops who thought instinct mattered more than orders. Instinct got people killed. A knock broke his thoughts. Sergeant Blake stepped in, holding a file. "Chief, the suspect from last night, the one Hale brought in. We just got his background." Donovan didn't look up. "And?" Blake hesitated. "He's not some random carjacker. Name's Eddie Kearns. He's wanted for multiple assaults. And, sir, there's something else. We found a phone in his car. Messages suggest he was tailing a young woman. We think she was his next target." Now Donovan looked up. "A woman?" "Yeah. Her name's Emily Donovan." For a moment, the room stopped breathing. Donovan's pen slipped from his hand. What did you just say?" Blake swallowed. "Your daughter, Chief. Looks like he'd been following her for days. We think she was leaving her shift at the bookstore when Hale intercepted the guy. If he hadn't stepped in," the rest of the sentence didn't need to be said. Donovan shot to his feet, heart pounding. He grabbed the report, scanning the evidence, photos, timestamps, text logs. Eddie Kearns had been stalking Emily for nearly a week. Her address, her routine, even a picture of her car were all listed. And the GPS ping showed he'd been parked outside her apartment just hours before the chase. "Where's Hale?" Donovan barked. Outside, Chief, Blake said. He came in to clear out his locker. Donovan didn't wait. He stormed out of his office, eyes burning. The bullpen went silent as he marched through, his badge glinting under the fluorescent lights. Marcus was there by the lockers, stuffing his uniform shirt into a duffel bag. When he saw the chief coming, he straightened instinctively. Sir, Donovan stopped in front of him. You disobeyed a direct order last night, he said evenly. But if you hadn't, Marcus frowned. Sir? You saved my daughter's life, Donovan said quietly. The words hung in the air like a weight. The entire precinct froze. What? Marcus asked, stunned. Donovan stepped closer. The man you chased. He wasn't just a suspect. He was stalking my daughter. You stopped him before he reached her. His voice cracked slightly. If you hadn't followed your instincts, I don't want to think about what would have happened. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Marcus nodded slowly. I was just doing my job, sir. Donovan let out a long, heavy breath, one that sounded like regret. No, he said. You did more than your job. You did what was right, even when I couldn't see it. He extended his hand. Officer Hale, welcome back. Marcus blinked, unsure whether to believe it. Sir, that's an order, Donovan said firmly, and for the first time in years, a small human smile touched his face. The entire room erupted in quiet applause. A few officers nodded in respect. Marcus looked around, humbled, then back at his chief. Thank you, sir, he said. Donovan nodded once more. No, son. Thank you. As the two men shook hands, the tension that had once divided them dissolved, replaced by something stronger, something forged in truth. Outside the precinct, the sun finally broke through the clouds, lights spilling across the wet pavement. And in that moment, Chief Donovan realized something every good cop learns too late. That rules matter, yes, but sometimes it's the heart that saves lives. The next morning, the precinct buzzed with an energy that felt lighter, almost reverent. The story had already made its quiet rounds. The rookie who'd saved the chief's daughter. Some whispered it in awe, others said nothing at all. But everyone looked at Marcus Hale differently now. Chief Donovan, meanwhile, hadn't slept. He sat in his office staring at a framed photo on his desk. His daughter Emily, smiling in her college graduation gown, sunlight in her hair. The idea that he could have lost her last night made his chest ache in a way he hadn't felt in years. When the knock came at his door, he looked up. Come in. It was Emily. Dad, she said softly, stepping inside. Her face was pale but calm, the kind of calm that comes after you've already cried all the tears you can. You wanted to see me. He stood immediately and crossed the room to hug her, something he hadn't done since she was a kid. You okay? I'm fine, she whispered into his shoulder. Just shaken up. They told me what happened. I didn't even know that man was following me. Donovan pulled back, searching her face. You don't have to think about that now. He's in custody. You're safe. Emily nodded. Who caught him? Donovan hesitated, then said, A rookie officer, Marcus Hale. He's the one who stopped the guy before he reached you. I want to meet him, she said immediately. Her father frowned. You don't have to. I want to, she repeated. He saved my life. A few minutes later, Donovan led her out to the bullpen, where Marcus was finishing a report. When he looked up and saw them, he straightened instantly. Chief, he said. Then, noticing Emily, his voice softened. Ma'am. Emily stepped forward. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she said quietly, You're the one who was there that night. Yes, ma'am, Marcus said. I was. She swallowed hard. You don't know me, but I owe you everything. Her voice trembled. I don't even want to think about what would have happened if you hadn't been there. Marcus smiled faintly, shaking his head. You don't owe me anything. I was just doing my job. Emily smiled through tears. That's what my dad says. But some jobs save lives, Officer Hale. Yours saved mine. For the first time in a long time, Chief Donovan felt something shift deep inside. Pride, humility, and guilt, all tangled together. He looked at Marcus, the young man he'd nearly crushed under bureaucracy, and saw something familiar. The courage he used to have when he still believed in people more than policy. Officer Hale, Donovan said, his tone softer than anyone had ever heard it, I was wrong to suspend you. You trusted your instincts, the same instincts that once made me a good cop. Marcus nodded respectfully. We all make calls, sir. Sometimes the right one doesn't look right until afterward. Donovan's jaw tightened with emotion. From now on, if anyone asks me what makes a good officer, I'll tell them your name. For a long moment, the three stood there in silence. A father, a daughter, and the man who had unknowingly bound their fates together. Then, Emily reached out, placing her hand over Marcus's. Thank you, she said again, her voice breaking. He smiled. Just glad I was in the right place at the right time. She shook her head. No, you were the right person. Donovan's throat tightened. He looked at Marcus, not as a superior, not even as a chief, but as a father. You've got a future here, Hale, he said, and I'm going to make sure you get it. Marcus stood a little taller, eyes shining. Thank you, sir. As they parted ways, Donovan turned to watch him go. He felt the weight of the badge on his chest, and for the first time in years, it didn't feel heavy. Outside, the sun peeked through thin clouds, gleaming on the precinct windows. In that light, one thing was clear. Sometimes it takes one mistake, one brave choice, to remind even the strongest men what real duty and real humanity looks like. For days afterward, the precinct felt different. The officers who once dismissed Marcus as the kid who didn't follow orders now greeted him with nods of respect. Even the hardened veterans found reasons to pat him on the shoulder as they passed. But the change that mattered most came from behind the chief's office door. Chief Donovan had always believed discipline was the backbone of justice, that the badge meant order above all else. Yet every time he looked at his daughter, laughing again, breathing alive, that belief shook a little more. He couldn't stop seeing Marcus's face in that dim office the night he'd suspended him. The pain, the quiet dignity, the face of a man who had done the right thing, even when it cost him everything. He invited Marcus to his office one morning. No tension, no stern voice this time. Just 2 cups of coffee steaming between them. Sit, Hale, Donovan said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. I've been thinking about that night. Marcus sat cautious. Yes, sir? I spent 30 years telling rookies to follow rules, to never let emotion cloud their judgment. But I forgot that sometimes it's emotion, instinct, that makes us human. You remembered that. Marcus was silent for a moment, then said softly, Sir, I didn't mean to disrespect you. I just couldn't let it go. Something about that guy didn't sit right. I kept seeing his eyes in the mirror. I knew he wasn't just running from a ticket. Donovan nodded slowly. And because of that, my daughter's still alive. You saved the only thing I couldn't replace. He slid a folder across the desk. That's why I'm recommending you for the Medal of Valor. You earned it. Marcus blinked. Sir, This isn't about medals, Donovan interrupted. It's about setting the record straight. Marcus looked down, the edges of the folder trembling slightly in his hands. I didn't do it for recognition, Chief. I just followed what felt right. Donovan smiled. That's exactly why you deserve it. The award ceremony was held a week later, in front of city officials, press, and the entire department. Emily stood in the front row, her eyes shining with tears she didn't bother to hide. When the chief pinned the silver medal to Marcus's uniform, he spoke into the microphone, voice steady but filled with emotion. This badge represents more than authority, he said. It represents courage, compassion, and conscience. Officer Marcus Hale reminded us that doing what's right doesn't always mean doing what's easy. And sometimes it's the youngest among us who teach the oldest what honor really means. The applause was thunderous. Cameras flashed, but for once, the focus wasn't on the headlines. It was on the humanity. As the crowd dispersed, Emily approached Marcus with a small smile. Congratulations, she said softly. Thank you, he replied. She hesitated, then added, You know, my dad doesn't open up to people easily. You changed him. Marcus smiled. Guess we both did, in different ways. When Chief Donovan walked over, Emily stepped aside. The 2 men exchanged a quiet, knowing look. Officer Hale, Donovan said, extending his hand, I meant what I said up there. This department needs more men like you, and I need men like you by my side. Marcus shook his hand firmly. I won't let you down, sir. Donovan smiled. You already didn't. That evening, as the lights of the city glimmered across the precinct windows, Marcus stood outside, looking at his reflection in the badge pinned to his chest. He thought of the storm, the chase, the moment he'd nearly lost everything, and how it had led him here. Behind him, Chief Donovan stood in the doorway, his daughter beside him. They didn't speak. They didn't have to. Because in that quiet moment, they all understood. The law keeps order, but heart keeps it human.